everybody. My next guest is one of the hosts of the hit podcast, Mostly True Alien Stories, where he and his co-hosts take the audience on a journey into the cosmos that doesn't take itself too seriously. Here he is, folks, the one and only Neal Girandola. Neal, what's up, buddy?
Dude, DONversation. Let's go. This is awesome. I'm so excited to be on here today, man. I'm telling you, I literally had a dream about you last night. It wasn't gay. Awesome. It wasn't a gay dream. It was just it was very manly, in fact. And but we were in your garage, and I'm assuming you have a garage. I don't know. And we were you had it very decked out. You had it like really cool furniture in there, and there was like all these girls hanging out in there, and we were getting ready to do the podcast.
Wow.
And yeah, there was this whole vibe going on, and you were like really cool, Don Sill, walking around, getting everything ready. And I just remember the dream, just like it was one of those so real, vivid dreams. And I just like, man, I can't wait to get on here today and tell Don about my dream.
That's awesome. So when you dream, we were hanging out in my garage, like similar to this room here. This is like
almost like this, because I remember a staircase too going up to it was a lounge area up there, and you were like, hey, you can go up there if you want. And I'm like, no, I hang out right here on the couch. And it was very nicely lit too. It had like purple lighting, and it was really, you had quite a place in my dream.
Wow. And there was like hot babes too?
Yes, there was like 4 or 5 of them, and they were just like your groupies, your podcast groupies.
I love it, man. We gotta make that dream come true.
Oh, let's do it.
That sounds awesome. Yeah. Now you inspired me to have the dream. I'm going to try to have that.
Well, you know what? You have to call me when you have a dream about me.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Let's see if it's similar.
If I have a dream about you, I'm definitely going to like text you immediately, and then we got to talk about it. That would be awesome.
We'll do another podcast on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I've been watching your podcast, and I just love it, man. You have some great conversations, really great people that sit down with you. You have such a nice, good network circle of friends. They seem like they're all your friends too, which I love. I love that. Yeah,
I have a lot of the local Long Island comedians on the show, and and it is a really tight knit group, and it's a good circle of people. But yeah, I try to talk to people from all walks of life, all over the country. And yeah, it's always super cool because, like, doing a podcast, it's always fascinating because I think just by hosting a podcast, sometimes you learn so much about things,
It's amazing what you learn. Yeah, just from the people that you talk to, or even the research you do to share with your community, to talk about that information. It's, I'm not an expert in I'm not a ufologist. I'll proclaim I am. I'll just say I am. I'm going to just say I am. But, because I don't know what credentials you need to become a ufologist. So I think if you talk about aliens, you are automatically a ufologist. But, I claim to be just this normal guy looking at the alien conversation from a normal perspective, what we're all thinking. It's like stand-up comedy.
Right.
You're getting up and you're telling stories from your perspective that you think the general population are thinking as well, but you just know how to kind of talk about that stuff. So the podcast has been fun, and you're exactly right. You learn so much from doing something like this. I just love it.
Yeah. And I love what you guys are doing with your podcast, Mostly True Alien Stories. I love everything about it, from kind of, obviously talking about different alien type of stories, and everything kind of relates to the kind of space alien and that whole kind of kind of subculture.
The whole concept of the show itself is really based on, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of actually reported alien phenomenon encounters since going back in time, since back in, from the 30s on up. And, what's going on in today's culture in terms of the have disclosure and all of these things. Well, we wanted to take these stories and say, hey, let's just talk about those stories that are being reported, and then let's just, let's dive into a little deeper and see, why do we think it's true or why do we think it's not true? And I think it's our way of disclosing things, and I tend to lean towards wanting everything to be true,
Right. Yeah. Same
when
here.
we talk about it. And then, and my co-host Andrew Triana, who he is completely does not believe in anything. He doesn't believe in anything. I mean, he could have an alien land in his house, come up to his room, float him out of there, put him in a spaceship, take him to another planet, and he'll come back and go, no, that wasn't real. That was not real.
I bet you if he was anal probed, he might change his
Well,
mind on.
oh, well, he gets anal probed all the time, apparently. So yeah, but it's what's interesting too, Don. I know you were going down a path here, but I always like to look at this now from how the alien encounters have changed. Is it, again, I'm not woo woo. This isn't tinfoil hat stuff. This is just as we're getting further down. And by the way, we just celebrated our 10th episode. I know you're like hundreds and
Excellent.
hundreds ahead, but 10th episode, that's
Oh,
how
that's
much work
huge.
goes into doing that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Congrats.
fun. Yeah, and it's growing and growing every day. But as I look at if we go back in the past, how alien encounters they've changed through the generations. Like like before 1937, the alien encounter reports, they were like less structured. They were often tied to like folklore or mythology. I think like you can go back to the Bible where they talk about golden chariots flying through and you can interpret it any way you want, and
Right. Yeah.
orbs and things like that. But it wasn't it. And then in 1938 there was the War of the Worlds. Remember that radio show
Yeah.
when they faked, basically it was a play on radio, through radio,
Orson Welles, right?
Orson Welles, and it was an alien invasion happening, and it started in New Jersey, and which is where I am, and that spread fear of God, a panic in that.
We know now that as human beings busied themselves about their various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied, perhaps almost as narrowly as a man with a microscope might scrutinize the transient creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water.
And and then right after that, in 39, is World War II. And so right after that moment, then we start getting these, all of a sudden alien reporting started, coming in. And this stuff started happening like into 50s. You're getting flying saucers and abductions and government cover-ups. And they were often, described as very physical. And they were involved in, close encounters or being taken aboard ships. There was a lot of fear during that time when they saw something. In the 50s, they had started these UFO, clubs. That's when that stuff and
Yeah.
the early conspiracy theory stuff.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and then it was just like, and then movies were starting to come out. There were like the sci-fi movies that depicted aliens as these bad guys, as
Right.
invaders, and attacking us. But then you get into the 80s and the 90s, and then it's just abductions and then cattle mutilations and these hybrid theories of stuff happening. And it was and like the encounters were more like sleep paralysis, and vivid dreams and recurring abductees and that kind of thing. Um,
Yeah.
and then then they had the TV shows in the 80s or 90s too. The X Files
X-Files.
started to come out
Yeah.
and everything. So you could see this change happening. And then as you get to the 2000s, it's it just gets to be this disclosure time, right? They want everybody now to know what's going on. Military encounters. You're getting all these credible witnesses, from the government coming out and talking about things. And then it's less fear now. It's more curiosity. It's more like we're hoping for this stuff to start being, real.
Right.
And
Yeah.
we're all going outside and looking up now. So there's so many more reportings happening, and this is what I'm learning just from doing this podcast. And I love when you look back and just see all of this, how the narrative has changed
Right.
And I'd like to at some point, go back even further and really just dig into it, you know?
When was the first recorded encounter stories? Was it 1937 in the 30s, or was there any before then, like recorded, like any from like earlier than that?
Yeah, well, yes, there were reportings like if you go like 1700s, they had something like the airship wave. There were like reports of these mysterious airships. They refer to them, I'm looking here, it's like dirigibles, they called them. Metallics and cigar shaped, very early on, cigar shaped
Wow, this is
reportings
like 1700s.
in the 1700s.
Wow.
Yeah. And they also saw orbs. If you, you know, I mean, that's pretty cool that they're reporting that. But again, that's also in the Bible. And I'm not a big religious guy or political guy. So when you get, when you hear these, interpretations of things, you can look at it from a different perspective and say, I mean, why were they writing about this stuff? Why is this being written this way?
Right.
It's nothing that, I would imagine that you're writing truth. You're not making it up. Um,
Especially in the 1700s, or even
yeah,
like in the ancient times when you see the hieroglyphics of
right.
like spaceships and
That's
Anunnaki and
crazy.
yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, it's crazy when you see like actual spaceships and a hieroglyphic inside of a
Yep.
pyramid. You're like,
Yep.
so that goes beyond trying to get it to a news headline.
Yeah.
Like
Well, if you go back to the earlier those ancient times, even when they were reporting about that kind of stuff, they kind of looked at it more as divine or
right, right.
more supernatural rather than extraterrestrial. Extraterrestrial is kind of relatively newer, and I think more government born. That kind of
Right.
thing. That word. But that yeah, you can go back a long time. There's some reporting of it, but it's just interesting how it has evolved and changed, and
I
you know,
think it too with if just let's just take from the 30s to now, you could see that the um kind of the way the media portrays it, or the films or movies, it, like you said in the beginning in the 50s and stuff like that, was sensationalized that the aliens were the bad guys and all
yep,
these types of things. And then ET comes along, and Close Encounters of the Third Kind, these types of movies were kind of, they were more peaceful. So I feel like those types of movies alone were kind of conditioning us to accept possibilities of this. And people, some people believe that it's deliberate because they're trying to get us ready for an first encounter with these people.
it's an interesting it's an that's an interesting conversation or thought. Why now, right? Why now are they disclosing? But they're getting so much pressure from these guys that did work for the government and truly worked for the government. You have five main guys that are really pushing this in that direction, and they're very credible. Now, there's some people that are involved in this narrative that aren't. That to me, I don't know if you know Stephen Greer, Dr. Stephen Greer. So
Right.
he has he's a guy who has all these photos and videos, and he's really early on was a big and even more so today. But his to me, from my perspective, and I think from the general population, he's starting to become this catfish guy. Where I'm gonna show you guys the greatest pictures ever this Saturday, and then here we are a year later, and you never saw these pictures or
Right.
video, right? He's always talking about how his life's in danger, because he's got all this stuff. No one's gonna kill you. No, in my opinion, there's no one gonna kill you for showing us pictures you think you have of UFOs. It's just not happening.
We have handed over a few dozen whistleblowers that have come to and through us, confirming both the conspiracy, the criminal activity, wet works murders, and things of this sort related to UAP operations and cover up.
First of all, in today's age with AI and everything that else is out there, I find it very hard to believe a lot of the images I do see or the videos I do look at. And that's why I don't talk a lot about video examples. I don't want to, get into that. The only thing that has been credible to me to date has been the Tic Tac UFO that David Fravor and his team spotted and caught on video.
Right.
To me, that blows my mind to see something that can move the way that moves, turn on a dime and move at the speed it's moving at. To me, that's very credible. And
And it's
coming from those
legitimate,
guys.
yes, because it came from like a government, was it like a
Yeah.
Navy pilot and caught
Yep.
it on camera, and it flies all different weird directions, and
Correct.
then and different crazy speeds, and then it went in underwater,
Into water.
and now it was recently, thanks to your podcast, I've found out that it was recently
Yes.
resurfaced again. We saw the Tic Tac
On Mars.
on Mars.
On Mars. So that's another crazy one because that, if you look at that again, you could say it's AI, but that's not. The images are coming from, they're from the Mars rover. And for those of you who aren't familiar with this, so just 2 weeks ago on Mars, the Mars rover, we all know that's there. That is capturing pictures and video on Mars and sends it back to us. So it timestamps the images. It's time stamping the images, and it's taking pictures of, similar the quadrants, several pictures of the quadrant, at a time, and then it'll move on to another one. Well, in this one particular one, it was a timestamp earlier, nothing in this quadrant, and then you come back. He takes in the Mars rover. I refer to it as a he because he's all alone up there. And I feel bad for him. But he takes a picture of the same quadrant, and then there's this tic tac shaped spaceship, UFO, whatever you want to call it, very, very, if not exactly similar to the one that Colonel Fravor captured and his team captured when they were flying here on Earth. And what's very, what you see is you see it hovering and you see a shadow beneath it
Right.
as if it's hovering, and it's hard to dispute other than, is it a gnat on the lens? Is it is it what I mean? What could it be? I just don't know. So those are the kinds of things that I really get excited about when you see something like that, because there is so much AI out there, and there's people, posting videos of this mothership, it's hovering over Arizona or whatever it is. And
Right.
you
Right.
just look at it and go, it's not, you dig deeper, you can realize, I almost become this, forensic ufologist. It's like,
Right,
you
because you
gotta,
want to make sure you're getting it
yeah.
correct. You're calling balls and strikes.
Well,
It,
yeah, and that's why I'm also waiting. I want to talk about the Giza pyramids, the pyramid and what they found underneath the pyramids with the,
yeah.
claiming it's an energy source with the pillars that go all the way down, and the report that came from these scientists. And I'm just waiting to talk about it because there are questions about the validity, but it's only because of how they reported it. Only one science magazine validated it, and that science magazine isn't very credible. So if it were real, it would be in hundreds of the science reports, right? And they would be reporting it. But I think they're doing the same thing. They're waiting for more, validity, real time validity being there, and then going with the radar and seeing what's down there. But the claims that they're talking about that's there, that to me is alien in nature, and I think that's going to be very exciting, because if that is true, if that is real, it changes so much for us as humans.
What if I told you scientists just uncovered a 2-kilometer energy grid beneath Egypt's pyramids? Technology so advanced, it could rewrite history and power entire cities today.
It really does.
Oh, like our whole history. Like there's so much
Yeah.
that, like who are we? What are we? Like are we? Like
Yes.
it opens up so many questions because like, and that's the thing about the ancient stuff. Like I have always been, an alien guy, so to speak. I've always believed that there's life on other planets and all that sort of thing.
That was going to be my next question. Do you believe?
Yeah, but it was what Ancient Aliens, I guess the show, when I started watching that and putting it together and being like, yeah, like it opens up so many questions about like, the all like the pyramids and Stonehenge, and all
Yeah.
these
What's
unexplainable
underneath them?
things. And what's underneath them, and then when you find out that okay, so there's pyramids in Egypt, but there's also pyramids in Mexico, and there's pyramids all over the world, and they're all similar, and they're all kind of pointing to the star, like the North Star, like
Perfectly placed. Yeah.
yes. So that's when, and different parts of the world at a time period where these there's no communication. Like the people from from Mexico probably didn't even know that there anywhere existed anywhere else. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
how do you? It's the how is what leads me to think it's got to be a higher power.
Right.
Leads me to think that perhaps alien forces.
It has to be. And and if you knew some alien species too, you can kind of like, let's connect the dots, right? Let's just say that you know, what we're just talking about, the Stonehenge and the pyramids and all of that stuff, and the way these stones are cut,
Yeah, like
20,000
precision.
ton blocks,
Yeah.
precision, perfect. They got perfect. I think that it was. Here's my thought, and without sounding crazy, I think there's two theories. So either aliens came and they assisted them with this technology. They assisted them in a way to advance their society, and that's how that came to be. And I don't know if it was Nostradamus that said this. I can't recall. I know it was some philosopher, but he said something like, "We're going to get so close to technology that we're going to destroy ourselves, and we're going to start over." And I think maybe that could have happened, in that time. And I think we started over, and here we are today,
Right.
and we're heading back in that direction again. And maybe this discovery of the pyramid stuff, if that is actually true and it reveals itself as true, that's going to advance us technologically. It's going to advance us hundreds and hundreds of years, I believe, because of the power source that this is apparently can generate, right? Nikola Tesla was doing it. He was trying to experiment with it and all that stuff. He got, kind of
Because the
shut
power
down.
source, it's something with obviously with the pyramid, but something with the stone, right? And then it goes
This, the
like through,
capstone, yep, the
right,
gold capstone on the top, the crushing of the quartz. So that
right,
not the crushing of it, it's the pressure on the quartz generates energy. So
right,
the pillars are, and you have the pyramid on top, and then it needs the conduit, which would be the gold capstone on top, which is gone now from the pyramids. But that, they could replace that.
right, yeah,
Wouldn't it be cool? They start getting the parts, and they put the
yeah.
parts
We
on it. It would
and all of
all
a sudden, yeah, that'd be amazing.
yeah, and everybody's hunkering down. But anyway, I think that it might have been I like to think of it that aliens were involved in that early stuff. You look at it and you just say, how would they do it? If they can't do it today,
Just
how did they
moving the
do it?
stones, the certain stones that
Yeah,
that were needed weren't native to the area, and
not
then
even yeah,
yeah,
not even close. But there's a correlation to the pyramid placements in Egypt, and then across in another country. You know what I mean? It's like there's so much that is symbiotic to what they're doing. But how would they know?
yeah. That's what
How would they
blows my
know?
mind. That's when that to me that's what you would think would make someone who absolutely is a non-believer of any type of life on in the galaxy to say, you know what, maybe there is, because I can't answer this logically in any other way. Like, how did they get the stones from one place to the other? How did two regions of the world that would never communicate in that time period create very similar structures that are pointed in the same like what is it, to North
Just
Star, right? They're
yeah,
pointed.
yeah, yes, yeah. And you know what? I think too. Like, so if you look at, let's talk about an alien. There's the Arcturians, and the Arcturians were like they're known for these advanced technologies. They had spiritual enlightenment as well. They came from this Arcturus star system. They're considered the spiritual, and very advanced technologically. So, and what they really liked to do was to guide the human species.
I am an Arcturian, and I will explain how your ancient pyramids were constructed. Firstly, it is important to understand that the pyramids were not built by humans alone. Rather, They were a joint effort between humans and extraterrestrial beings, including my own people. The basic idea behind the construction of the pyramids was to use sound waves to manipulate the physical properties of the stones. By harnessing the power of sound, the builders were able to levitate the massive blocks and move them into place with ease. This technique required a deep understanding of acoustics and resonance, as well as the ability to manipulate energy on a subatomic level. It was a complex and sophisticated process that required the cooperation of many different groups of beings. In addition to the Arcturians, there were also beings from other planets involved in the construction of the pyramids, including the Pleiadians and the Sirians. Of course, there were also human workers involved in the construction process, but their role was primarily to provide labor and to follow the instructions of the extraterrestrial builders.
But when I look at the alien species as it's documented now from wherever points,
Right.
I say the Arcturians are the ones of the group that I look at that would be the ones that would come down and assist, our human race to advance technologically and to guide us and to, maybe they wanted to also embed a spirituality and make this a kind universe, a kind, human race in a sense. They were, just for your listeners too, the Arcturians were, they're blue skinned, they're humanoid, and they have these they have a really high mental abilities, so they vibrate at this different level, and they also consider themselves as protectors and guardians, and they want to increase this interstellar peace among us. So if you if you want to pinpoint an alien, I know this sounds so crazy, right? That would be the ones that could implement this kind of technology to get us to that point. I think they're the ones. And it's, you sit here and go, well, where are they today? Why aren't they, helping us now and helping us today? Well, I don't know. That's a whole nother mindset. I don't know how to explain, where we are today in terms of us as a human race.
Right. Are they
Um,
amongst us still? That's always been
that's
um
right.
the question. Like a lot of people, especially nowadays, it was, with COVID era, all of a sudden we found out that, the Navy thing came up with this Tic Tac ship, and
Yes.
everyone was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, okay." Like no one cared. It's almost like we were like they cared, but it was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
what else is going to come?" But I feel like it opened it up to where the conversation, where people started believing and wondering, are they amongst us? And then you hear, like, because I know you're talking about
The
what,
Pleiadians.
yeah, the Arcturians are the good guys, and then
Yep.
they got the reptilians,
Yeah,
which
those are tough dudes. Those are big, mean, sort of.
Everything they teach you in school is a lie. You want the truth? The world is controlled by shadowy elites and shape-shifting lizard people.
and the
They're the ones.
shapeshifters.
Yeah, shapeshifters. They're the ones that are sort of. They claim that they're embedded within our government, so they shapeshift into these government leaders. And that could be you could say that they're the ones providing the misinformation or the disinformation, leading us down a path of, oh, we'll create this disclosure group, but we won't really tell anybody much. We'll just, we'll kind of feed them a little bit. We'll tease their appetite about certain, events throughout, the years, but we're never going to reveal anything to them. We're going to lead everybody the way we want, them to go. I mean, that's an interesting concept. I don't fully believe that. I don't know what the point is. What would be the point? It would be that would
Right.
be just a game for them, or we're toys, or let's just let's
Yeah,
let's just,
that's been my thing too. Is like, yeah, what's the point? Why don't they just say, "Hey, here we are. You're gonna be our slaves"? Like,
yeah. Well,
they,
so there is that, and that's the other thing. And I don't know if you saw the video I did, but on what are the scenarios, right?
right,
What
yeah,
are the scenarios for if the aliens do invade? And I say invade, and invade doesn't have to be a bad, mean, horrible thing. There's different invasions. So in one scenario, yes, there's domination, right? You could have the aliens are coming here to conquer Earth, and they're not going to do anything with us except use us as resources or slaves. For what? I don't know. But that would happen. That would affect obviously our social and political structures. They'll collapse. They'll collapse if that's the case. And we would then start building these resistant, movements.
Right.
That will happen. Um, and the anybody that's coming here to dominate us, their advanced technology is going to outmatch our human defense. I mean, it's like going to you know, a gunfight with a knife. It's just not it. There's no defense when it comes to that. It's futile. You know. And
Right.
then another scenario is if let's just say it's peaceful.
Right.
The peaceful integration, right? Um, they're going to establish communication with us. Yeah, they're going to share their technology. They're going to make it so it's a new era for us. We're going to cooperate as humans. We're going to coexist with these aliens. Um, it'll definitely reshape our society for sure. But the tensions may arise from the fear of that adaptation. It's just like politics. You know what I mean? It's like you get a new president and half the country's losing their shit, and the other, half is, hey, this is great. So it's not far. It's not going to be a distant cry from that kind of feeling, although it will be a much more advanced society. So that maybe those maybe the rebellions will end quicker. You know what I mean? Like once they because we're literally able to show. I think the aliens are going to be literally able to show change immediately, right? In
Right.
that regard. So then the third scenario, Don, and this one is this is what I mean. I guess it is a fear in a sense. It's extermination, basically. It's
Right.
it's
Right.
it's the aliens are coming here. They don't view us as anything but insignificant or expendable. They're going to devastate our Earth. They're gonna strip it for resources that they need. And then, anybody that's surviving, you and I, we're going to survive because we're going to go underground.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I got my
And
bunker. Yeah.
yeah,
I got
and
my
then
garage. My
then
cool thing.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
with all your groupies, and we're going to go, and then we'll form a resistance to try to fight back. But again, there's not going to be any fighting back. It'll just be hiding. You just be hiding. So those are the scenarios that I believe would happen if aliens reveal themselves. So there's three different scenarios. I could be way off. I could be completely wrong. But I do
I,
know that the government, and we just talked about it, just recorded this on our last podcast, which will this conversation will come out next week. That the government is just now creating a scenario for how to greet aliens. Just now.
really.
Like, so
So,
I don't know if they're doing this or saying this to to again appease us, like
right.
part of that whole disclosure thing. Because wouldn't you think, Don, at this
Right.
point we would have that in place? How's this going to go down? Like, let's just say, in the scenario that I did talk about was it's you and I sitting on our back porch having a beer, and the aliens land, and in my backyard.
Right.
What are we supposed to do? So the government's not involved. It's you and me sitting there.
Right. Yeah.
So what are we? So what's the scenario for greeting, or whatever it may be for when the aliens arrive? It's, I don't know, and I likened it to when the government put in the law, and this is how the government kind of explained it. They didn't use this analogy, but when the law was put in place that everybody had to wear seatbelts. Remember when we never wore seatbelts?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
then you all had to get used to wearing seatbelts. That's the rule. This is, we got to get used to buckling ourselves in. For this, they're saying we need to educate now the world on how to do this. So there are protocols that we need to follow in terms of greeting these aliens. I don't know. What would you do? What do you do if an alien landed?
Well, if it's click it or ticket for the seatbelt, so we have to have some kind of catchy uh, meet it and
God.
greet it or something like
Yeah,
that.
right. Meet it, greet it. Yeah. Don't shoot.
Yeah. I come in peace.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, yeah, yeah, it's one of those things you don't think about, like how would you greet, an alien if they landed in your yard? I would think that the alien itself should have a protocol too. like because they're the one coming into us, right? So they should
Yeah.
have like I come in
Yeah.
peace, or
Yeah.
or most of them are telepathic, right? So they would
Sure.
like let us know that they're peaceful or something like
Well,
that. But
I believe though, Don, to your point, that the aliens, based on all the stories I've been researching and telling them through our podcast, is that they have the worst management, marketing, and branding team ever because they're going to these desolate, locations in the world, grabbing one person,
right,
probing them, and then sending them back.
right,
What? Well, come get a group of us. Go to the mall. Do
right,
something, amusement park. Scoop up a whole bunch of people. Maybe you get more, diversity that way. It's
yeah,
always some dude in Kentucky in the middle of the
yeah,
woods
yeah. That just gets
fishing,
right, exactly.
elk hunting, whatever it may be. I just don't know, just based on these reports that I've been looking at, I haven't found one that's been this en masse sort of, abduction, alien abduction or encounter, not necessarily an abduction. Um, so I just don't think that they have it worked out. I think they're in their ship going, yeah, you know what I was thinking? We're gonna go, we're gonna go over to over there in Wyoming. There's an elk hunter.
He's all by himself.
He's all by himself always. Let's get him.
And he's, he may or may not be drunk right now, but we're gonna grab him.
Who cares? This is gonna be fun. Like we just told a story today. This guy Jan Wolinski, we recorded today, and he's in Poland in 1978. The guy was 71 years old. He was a farmer. And in Poland, he was in this town called Emilson. I think that's how you pronounced it. And he's on his horse-drawn carriage. He's going down. It's 1978 or 71, and he's driving down this path from his farm, is expansive, it's a small little village, and he's on the outskirts. And there's these two aliens standing in the middle of the path that he's going on, and he stops. He stops, it's all by himself. 71-year-old guy, on a
Wow,
farm in Poland.
wow,
And the aliens are standing there, and they're like 5 foot tall. They're wearing these tight green suits. They had slits for eyes, not really any mouths, and they had 3 fingers, the 3 thick fingers. And Jan is standing there, and he's like, what is this shit? And and the aliens basically just looked at him, and they just started waving him, gesturing, towards them to, follow us. And old man Jan jumps off his cart, and he goes and
and
he's
he
like
followed
follows them, like he just followed them. And then they stop and they point to a clearing, in the middle of fucking nowhere. They point to a clearing, and he's like, follow me again. They follow him a little further to this clearing, and when they get there, Jan says there's this tic tac. He didn't use the word tic tac, but it was cylindrical spaceship. It was hovering
right, right.
like a tic tac, and then the door opens. It comes down like a ramp, and then the two aliens turn around on the ramp and they gesture Jan to follow them. And I'm thinking, and Jan's going along with this, and I'm like, hey, you know what? Jan growing up probably got into so many strangers' cars. You know what I mean? Like, what?
Yeah, yeah, Jan.
Jan.
He's the guy if he gets the email to
Yeah,
to
yeah.
pay that the prince
Get-
is giving him some money.
He's definitely doing that. And then he goes onto the ship. And when he gets on, there's 4 more aliens, exactly like the 2 that brought him on the ship. Although they didn't pay Jan any attention, they were moving this stuff around on the table, prepping stuff. But Jan looks over on the floor, and then there's like 20 dead birds, just different types, like chickens and birds and doves and hawks and shit, and all dead on the ground. And Jan's just standing in the ship, and then the 2 aliens they motioned for Jan to take his clothes off. And I'm like, really, Jan? You're not going to fall for this one. Are you going to take your clothes off on this one?
Wow.
But my point is, and you have to tune in to find out what happens.
Yeah, we got to find out what happened to Jan. We got to
Yeah.
tune into
Yeah.
your show
Yeah.
to watch that.
But this is what I'm talking about. These are the stories. I haven't found really any stories. There was one that was in New York City. with this lady by the name of Napolitano, and and that was more recent times. But then that turned out to be fake. It turned out to be a complete lie. And so I haven't found, and I'm a true believer. I
Right.
think there are aliens. They're coming, if not already here. I'm a true believer. But I haven't found that story where I'm just like, there's no fucking way you can dispute this. This
Right.
is
Right.
absolutely true because there's reason behind it. There's no reason to take that Jan, who's 71 years old, off of the
Right.
pole and farm, and and there's a spaceship, have him take his clothes off around dead birds. I don't get it.
Right.
But those are real reports, and that's what's crazy. That's what's fun.
Yeah, and because that's what I wanted to ask you too, because I know it's you guys are always talking about these mostly true alien stories and these stories that go date all the way back,
Yeah.
to like the 30s and even earlier than that. But how how do you determine a mostly true story versus a mostly not true story? Like where's the criteria for you personally, like when you know that this is BS versus like maybe Anna, maybe he did, like where's the for you,
Yeah.
where's the line?
Yeah, that's a terrific question. And 9 times out of 10, it usually happens. I find the story, I prep it, I go through it, so I know it before I read it on the podcast. um, I don't do any other research other than what I see in the report. So just whatever's in the report. I don't look into the guy's history. That's for Andrew. Andrew usually does that. He'll bring in the stuff about, oh, he was going to a psychologist for, years.
That's why it's a
Or
good
he was
yin and yang with you two, because
exactly, yeah,
you believe and he absolutely does not, so it's this good
right,
thing of, yeah, it's a good,
exactly.
you're gonna
So
break it down.
yeah, so I let him do the fill in the cracks research, based on that. So I don't generally make a decision until I hear his side, and then wait out. And then so where I determine whether it's mostly true or not. And I generally lean towards mostly true. In fact, I get comments from people who's like, Neil said it's true again, stuff like that. But
Right.
the way there's been two. Now, let me back up because I did start this podcast 2 years ago, and I have like all these archived recordings with different people, different hosts, different things, different strategies. So in there's a lot of where I didn't believe, certain stories, and that stuff will never see the light of day. But in the last 10 episodes, I think I now have, including today's, and I'll give you a little foreshadowing, I now have 3 stories that I don't believe are true. But 7 out of there's going to be 15 by then. So, that's not bad. But the way I determine it, Don, is there's got to be a true connection. There can't be any gaps in terms of the story. And I always weigh in on what does this guy or gal have to gain by making this story up. And if they have something to gain, then I don't that knocks it down. The credibility factor gets knocked down for me a little bit. Like if they're
Right.
immediately calling the press and doing book deals and movie deals, and they go on a talk show circuit and all this stuff, that becomes where it's not something that I think then they're in it for financial gain, and they're going to do it. So there's a couple of guys like the Betty and Barney Hill story, which was just our 10th episode that just came out. In that happened in 1961. They were an interracial couple. They were driving back from vacation through the I forget, through Vermont. It's like Severance. As soon as I'm done telling the story, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, the Audi comes in. So that story to me, I was on the fence about, only because Barney was completely stressed out during the whole reporting of this. The husband, he was a black guy, interracial couple, and he was stressed out to the point where I thought he's either stressed out throughout this whole thing because he's lying,
Right.
that
Yeah.
she's making him lie. She was very calm through the whole thing, telling, and then they went on the talk show circuits, and they went in, the news, and they were doing all this stuff. but they never reported it. They were outed. And it wasn't until 2 years later when it all happened. So, that they were outed about it. It was reported immediately to the Air Force, but it was never, immediately. And they investigated, and they just said it was, it was just a celestial appearance in the sky that had nothing to do with, other stuff. So to me, when I look at that, I go, okay, why is he so stressed out? Is he lying? But you look at an interracial couple in 1961.
Yeah.
Why would they make this story up and bring that kind of attention?
Right. Why would they want attention on them at that time period?
Why? Yeah, that's not gonna help them with their cause. It's not anything that's gonna be a positive outcome. So I think he was stressed out about that because it actually happened. They were outed, and then they're forced into the public, right? And they got to go out and do this stuff. So that's how I weigh it out. I look at it and where are the connections? Where are the gaps? What doesn't make sense? Who's making money? And that's how I weigh it out. And in that particular story, which is out right now, that's this week's episode. I said it was mostly true.
There you go.
Because of that, yeah.
And the link to your episodes are going to be in the description below as well. So everybody check out the
Nice.
Mostly True Alien story, and check out episode 10 where he's talking about this particular story
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
I do want to kind of go through some stuff with you here and get
Okay.
your take on it. So I have a list of different alien species. We talked about the Acurians a little bit about the reptilians, but I want to talk about some of these and just get your take on each one as we go kind of down this list.
Okay, I'll do my best.
All right,
Remember,
cool.
I'm learning this stuff too as we go. So go ahead.
No, that's what's cool. Yeah, because I know you're learning it and it's fresh in your mind and I'm also trying to learn it too, and I think you're a little ahead of me on it, so I want to learn
Love
from
it.
you.
There's actually a lady on TikTok. I don't know if you've ever seen her. Are you on TikTok?
I
Do you do-
have not it's not my go-to. I have a TikTok account, but it's not my
Yeah.
but I should have more of a presence there, but I don't. But
Yeah, I tell you what, I love it. I love TikTok, especially for what we do, our
yeah.
platforms. It's just funny to see who that community is, and as it grows. Well, there's this one lady, Erin, and I can't remember her exact last name, but she talks to the aliens, and they communicate with her. And she wears this like bracelet around her head that has a pendant that hangs there, and then she holds an iPad, and she says she gets messages from the aliens and she interprets it. She goes, and I interpret it right here on my iPad. And then I check with them to make sure the interpretation is right. And then I have a message for you from the aliens.
Today is March 25th, and I have another message from the aliens. I'm an interdimensional communicator, which means I can connect with angels and aliens and other interdimensional beings.
Wow.
And she doesn't generally say what type of aliens it is. This woman has, 500,000 followers.
Wow.
And she gets on and she is brave as brave gets because she talks about claims. Like just 2 weeks ago, she said that these two motherships were going to reveal themselves over two major cities, but she's not allowed to tell us which cities because she doesn't want to cause panic. And so
Wow, that's a big one. That's a big
well, it's a big claim. If you're going to say that, that stuff better show up. So everybody's waiting and looking, wait. And they didn't show up. And the people attacked her so much, man. It was, and I'm just looking at it. I was like, why are we attacking her? She is so brave. And she, maybe she is communicating with them. And then she came on and gave a very, a message from them to say why they didn't show up. There was a miscommunication and,
wow. So they let her know. They gave her like a press release.
Right. So I'm trying to get her on my show because,
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, as you're asking me about these aliens, man, she's the expert. So
you could be interviewing her and then simultaneously talk to, a reptilian. You never know.
That is true.
Like she could be like, "Oh yeah, he says hello," and that's pretty cool. I mean, now is that?
And they're they told me to tell you to stop doing your podcast.
There can only be one.
That's funny.
Right. No, that's cool. Yeah, and in a case like that, is that mostly true, or what's your feeling on her communicating?
You know what? We'd like to have fun with this conversation, but not make fun within
Yes.
this conversation. So as far as what she's doing, I think she believes that she does that. I'm not one to judge. And I think, because she's so committed. And, we don't understand it. Maybe she can do that. Maybe there is
And
that thing.
As usual, he gave me his message telepathically. I interpreted it into words on my iPad. Then I checked in with him to make sure he agreed with my interpretation, and now it's ready for you.
and to me, with some of these, if it's true or not true, or mostly real or mostly not, if it's harmless and it's,
Right.
then I don't see the point. And yeah, I'm with you on that. I would never
Yeah.
want to bring somebody down, or make fun of them, or
It it it's similar to psychics, right?
right,
It's
right.
similar to those. I mean, this is more outer worldly, but we make fun of the psychics. I don't know. I mean, the general population would probably say that she's crazy,
Right.
but doing what I do with this podcast, I can't rule her out. I'm not ruling her out.
Prime's creator assures us that there will be a time for motherships to uncloak themselves, but that time has not come yet. The important thing to know is that we are here already, even if you can't see.
Right. You never
Uh,
know. That's the crazy thing
yeah.
is with a lot of this stuff, it's like, especially now with all the conspiracies that we've seen unfold, it's like you feel like anything is possible.
Yes.
Like nothing's off the table.
Nothing is. Nothing is. I mean, you go back 20 years and she's doing that, they're gonna put her away.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Today, no.
Thank God for TikTok, man.
That's right. I'll send you a clip of her so you can check it out.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to put that in here too, into this piece.
Okay.
But all right, so here's the aliens. I got a few here. Um, we'll start off with everyone's. I think the most popular one would be the Greys.
Yeah, so the Greys are, they're known for like the abductions, the genetic experiments. They're telepathic. They communicate telepathically. Um, the Greys are from the Zeta Reticuli star system, which in this episode of Betty and Barney Hill, she actually, when she was abducted, they implanted a map in her mind, and that was of the Zeta Reticuli. Now, you go back to 1961, how would she know this? And she
Right.
drew it. And that's one of the things that, they investigated. And so that's part of that. So in my opinion, she was abducted by the Greys. I'm just giving a little reference, but they're also believed to be sort of like the servant race. They're not a hierarchy. They're bioengineered in a sense. They're like bioengineered workers, and they're under the reptilians and all of the other aliens. So, I mean, we all know these Greys as they're like they're most depicted in movies. They're the
Right.
ones. They're the gray skinned, large heads, large black eyes. They got the thin bodies. But what they mostly do when they depict them is they make them very tall, and they're generally, in every report that we've gotten, the Greys are between 2.5 feet to 5 feet. They're not tall, so that they're more small on that. They're also they they're the ones that are often in the reports, and well, the movies and television shows do this too, but they depict them as they perform scientific and medical procedures on abductees. So that's what they're known for. Have you ever
Very
seen
cool.
one? Have you ever seen an alien? Have you? No?
I've never yet seen one, and if I do, I got to figure out the protocol. I'm still figuring
Yeah,
that
well,
out.
I think we need to form that committee. I think
Yes,
I don't know what
yes.
that's going to happen. It's funny because there are people again, go through this process of telling these stories that have seen aliens and spaceships, 4 to 7 times. It's like if you golf, it's like hitting a hole in one. I've been waiting for something like this. I've never seen a spaceship, an alien, nothing. It's like hitting a hole in one, and then you got this one guy 7 times. You know what I mean? It's like, How does this happen?
Well, you did have the drones over Jersey a couple months ago, so
Well, that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
uh, the
Uh,
next one I have is the Nordics.
oh, the Nordics. Okay, so the Nordics are to me, I think they're the same as the Pleiadians. So I think it's the same race. People call them Nordics or they call them the Pleiadians, and they're the spiritual guiding aliens. They're very spiritual. They usually are the ones that warn about, Earth's destructive behaviors. Um, they are they're from the Pleiades star cluster. They're definitely higher up in the spiritual and enlightenment, hierarchy, and they're seen as benevolent. They're very benevolent. They're tall, they're blonde, they're very good looking, blue eyed, and they're here on Earth. In most people's opinion, they're here. They blend in, pretty well. But they're just peaceful beings. They want humanity to evolve, so to speak. So that's what they're here for.
Cool. So the Nordics and the Pleiadians are of the same
Of the same,
race.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then I have the so we talked a little bit about the reptilians, but there's also the was it insectoids? Insectoids? I don't know if that's a real thing. I was looking through different species, and these insectoid ones look a little sci-fi. They look like insects.
Yeah, some aliens are slipped in there, I think, from comic books and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know the insectoids very much. I know probably on your list is the Anunnaki.
Yes, I'm saving them for last because,
Okay.
and that is the next one anyway, but that is the last one. But the Anunnaki to me
Yeah.
are my favorites because I think that there might be something to that to them, like as far as
And
like you know,
and I agree with you. I agree with you. So it's rumored or said that the Anunnaki created humans
right.
to basically work for them and
Mine
to
gold,
mine gold. Yeah. So and they genetically manipulated us as humans. So they basically created us from the planet Nibiru. And that's more of a mythological connection, Nibiru. You could take that for however you want to take it, but they
right?
are the ancient gods. They're considered the ancient gods. They're the creators. They're dominant over us, and they're very big. I would say giants, in my opinion. um,
Yeah, like 10 feet tall or something.
yeah, yeah, and but they were just considered to have shaped our early human civilization. So, I think the Anunnaki, they're one of my favorites too. I
Because
love the
they're
idea of them. They would be the main, I think, over everyone, all
right.
of the aliens. You know,
Yeah, and they're the ones that are
they're like the Thanos.
right. Exactly.
They're
And
likable, but not kind of
right,
could
right. They
destroy
mean
you.
business.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But those are the ones that are depicted in the hieroglyphics as well, too. That's like the
Yep,
Anunnaki.
that's right. Yeah, the Anunnaki are in the hieroglyphics, and and they're also, I think, there's that famous image of the spaceship with the guy in it seated,
Yeah.
and and I think that's part of that too. You fantasize enough about this stuff, and you hope one day that you could confirm that all of this is actual, real. I think it just would be badass. I really do. It fills me with joy to think about it. And just be able to go, see, fucking told you.
Exactly. But you know what's gonna happen when you do find out there's nobody's gonna be around for you to say, see, and then
Yeah, that's right.
you're gonna be the one
Well,
everyone thinks
only you and I will be because we figured out how to greet them.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's really cool. But there's all the agencies now that are out there, you know, either disclosing a lot of stuff. It will be interesting to if we ever figure it out in our lifetime, or we ever see it in our lifetime, that an agency will fully admit that there's an alien. there's aliens, or they have them, or they're,
Right.
wherever they are. There was an article on one of the, and I can't remember the guy's name. In fact, we just talked about it. He's the head of one of the science programs that researched UFOs, and I don't know if he's in there. It might be Arrow. I think he's in the all domain uh, Arrow, the ones that just disclosed the Department of Defense's research into whether these things are true or happening or whatever. And that's another very badass sort of revelation about what was found in that report, in the defense report. So
Right.
let me I got a little summary here of this. This is very cool to me. These are stats I couldn't remember offhand, but so the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, for our listeners, is under the Department of Defense. They just released its latest report that covers the UAP, which is the unidentified anomalous phenomenon incidents. But they did it from May 1st, 2023 to June 1st, 2024. You know how many reports were done in that 1 year? Any guess? Take a guess, Don. Take a guess.
100.
757 UAP
Whoa.
sightings were reported during this period in 1 year.
Wow.
Yeah, and with 485 of those were new cases. So there's 444 of these. Wait a minute. So let me back up. There's 118 cases that were attributed to just balloons and birds, drones, airborne debris. So they did this research, and these are reported as UAP reportings, but then they look into it. Arrow looks into it and says, no, 118 of these were just balloons, birds, drones, just airborne debris. There's 444 of these cases. They still remain unresolved. So because they said there's just insufficient data. There's not enough data for them to really come out with a conclusive answer. There are 21 reports that are classified as true anomalies. So, which meant there's like some sort of unusual flight characteristics, or there's performance capabilities. Now we're just talking about those flying machines, right?
Right. Yeah.
There are no reported, and this is my question always, is when does that become a threat, these UAPs? There has been no reported, according to the defense report. There's been no reported UAP sightings that have resulted in adverse health effects or aircraft crashes. So that's kind of comforting to know that's they're not becoming a threat, but
Right.
yet we
Yeah.
all look at it as a threat all the time. And then in terms of any extraterrestrials existing, Arrow said there is no evidence that supports the existence of either extraterrestrial technology or off-world activity. So I thought that, in fact, it's a little disappointing that they would come out with that. But again, it's part of this whole disclosure or disinformation question,
Right.
right? Is they're appeasing us by going, okay, we're going to create a report for you guys because everybody's asking.
Right.
You think we're hiding stuff? We're gonna take the bull by the horn. We're gonna create a report, and we're gonna tell you what exists, what's not. So, and in this report, we'll just leave 21 unexplained. 21 unexplained for
Right.
you.
Right.
You guys can chew on that.
Right.
That actually that whets my appetite. That makes it good.
Right. They want to keep
Okay.
you still
Yeah.
engaged and
Right.
yeah.
But about the extraterrestrial technology and otherworldly, things, that to me is disappointing. But I don't know.
I still think the stealth and certain military aircrafts have to be you know,
Alien technology.
alien technology. I mean, how else did we come up with that? It's.
Well, you have all of these veterans that have worked for the government on classified technology in Area 51 that are now almost 80% of them are reporting tumors, cancerous things, all of this. Now, I'm not saying that that's alien technology, but they were definitely working on this. They claim that they've been working on alien technology. the government is saying that that's not true. And in fact, the government isn't even they're not they're saying that they didn't work there, and they're not providing assistance in terms of their health to help them through these claims that they're all getting cancer. So there's all this stuff. So to me, that makes it go, well, if the government, if I were a veteran and I worked in this secret, place with alien technology, or even if it was just secret, army technology or whatever,
Right.
the government technology, I would just then come out and say, okay, here's what we were working on, because they're not helping me, they're not supporting us. Here's what's down there. Here's what we got.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, just
But
spill the beans,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then just be like, hey, they're not gonna help me.
yeah,
I'm dying anyway of all this stuff. I'm gonna go out
blazing.
blazing with the truth.
That's right. That's right. Come out
And
with
you
it, or help me.
even I would even wouldn't it be something if he just disgruntled and just made it up anyway and just said, yeah, man, this all kinds of stuff down there.
Well, that's the thing too. Like you could run into that.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
Now,
Is that all the aliens?
that's all the aliens I have, but I also have another list here.
Uh-oh.
Is if this is mostly true or mostly not true, and it's a bunch of like a couple of conspiracies that I just wanted to get your thoughts on.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Maybe
The,
I know some. Will I know these? Will I know these?
oh yeah, you'll know. You should know all these. These are pretty,
Standard.
yeah, standard stuff.
Okay.
So the first one would be the moon landing.
You motherfucker. Well, yeah. I think the moon landing has become politicized. I think it's become, people can tell who you voted for based on whether you believe the moon landing happened or not.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's in that regards. I mean, I'm not saying that that's what people will do. I was a huge Neil Armstrong fan when I was a kid. Like, I collected scrapbooks on Neil Armstrong, anything that was written about Neil Armstrong, because my name was Neil. He's Neil. He went to space.
Yeah.
He landed on the moon, all that stuff. No matter what they say, I am going to say it's mostly true that they landed on the moon. I think there may be some backup footage to it. There may be some, B-roll pickups here on Earth that were made. But I think for the most part, it's such a huge conspiracy to lie about. It's such a huge thing to keep under wraps, and the whole Stanley Kubrick filming it and all of
Right.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, like I said, there may have been some pickups here on Earth, but I believe it truly happened.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things, and that would be like a whole episode, like to really get into it. But that's one of
Yep.
those things where there's so much on both directions, whether it's real or not.
Yeah.
That
What do you
support.
think?
I saw a documentary on it a long time ago, and the one thing that always boggled my head was they found a rock, and in the rock was a number on it, and they traced the number back to a props room and all this stuff. So that's when I'm like, you know what? And then I remember the whole space race with Russia and all that stuff, and we needed a win because Russia was kicking our butt. We needed a win really bad.
Yeah.
And so I understood the desperation behind needing the win at all costs, just
Sure.
for morale of our country. So, it probably, if it was a hoax or whatever, or fake, I think it was with good intention ultimately for our country. But again, there is, other, I mean, we've all seen both sides of it, the debunking of it and all that. And it's hard to, it's such a wishy-washy, you don't know which way to go
Is
with
it
it.
mostly true or not, Don?
I think in that case, I would say mostly not. That's just my opinion.
Well, to your point, so I can validate what I was saying.
Right.
These guys get back from the moon and they're like, let's look at the footage. And, the government guys are just like, no one's going to fucking believe we went there.
Right.
What was this? And so they're like, we need to reshoot this. Well, they're like, well, we ain't going back to the moon.
Right.
We'll shoot pickups here. I mean,
That's a
that's great.
possibility. And then they would say, we really need you to say that line, Neil. Say it again.
Yeah.
One small
Small
step for
step
man.
for mankind. Yep. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Okay. That's good. I love it. I love that. I love this mostly true or mostly not
Yeah.
true. Okay. Here we go. What else?
Next one is crop circles.
Okay. I love crop circles. And I think, and I need to investigate these more. They're definitely alien in nature, and I do believe they're mostly true. I know there are some hoaxes that have happened. They've caught people that have done it, but there are some crop circles that show up like that, and and there's verifiable proof of that. So to me, I think there's been tests done on some of the crop circles too that are valid, and there's some source materials and stuff like that coming from it. So to me, yes, I think crop circles are mostly true, and I don't know. It again, it's one of those things where the marketing department with the aliens is really stupid because what message? What are you trying? Just come down and tell us. Just fucking what do I got to piece together all these crop circles all over the fucking world and figure out what you want us to know? Just come tell us.
Why is it a riddle?
Yeah, and if you're afraid of us, it'll take you 1 second to get off of Earth. Just fucking come and tell us and then leave.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that, but I also think it's mostly true. I
Yeah.
think, and I have seen the hoax ones too, where some guy out there, with like a
Right, the
like a
boards.
plywood or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I do think because of some of the speed of it and all that stuff, and again, it's always with the precision and how gently all the things are laid out,
Yeah.
not breaking anything or killing any of the plants. It's just
Well,
weird with the way they do it.
and it's very scientific too. The explanations, like those interpreters of these crop circles, they're the design work one, and then the interpretation of these of what they think they are or related to is that to me that's crazy
Yeah,
and
yeah.
very intelligent. But it's like who's the artist that the famous graffiti artist?
Oh,
Um,
Blanksy.
Blanksy. It's like Blanksy. He's alien. Blanksy the alien. He's coming down and doing
Right,
his shit.
exactly.
He's taking off.
And then all of a sudden you see this artwork in your field, like, what?
It's like
This
Blanksy was
is
here again. Blanksy the alien.
Blanksy did it again.
Got him. Yeah.
The next one here is time travel.
God, I think time travel is absolutely true. Hands down, time travel is absolutely true. I always love when I see these photos of, what people claim there's a time traveler there is holding a cell phone and he's in,
Right? He was gonna
1800s
watch.
and
Yeah.
he's got a Apple Watch on. I mean, we're getting with the quantum mathematics, quantum physics, and the advanced chips, the microchips and stuff. I think I believe that time travel's already been invented, and I think that the government has that. I think they have it, and I know it sounds crazy. I sound woo woo, like oh, you're nuts, but yes, I believe time travel exists. Not like how we see it in the movies, not like how they do it in the movies.
Right.
I think you can only go one way. I don't think you can go from here forward. I think you can only go back in time.
Somebody said
I believe.
with the time travel stuff that it starts when you invent the machine. So anything that takes place after you invented it, you can go back to that time. Like that's the beginning point.
Very
So
cool.
you can't go like you can't go to yesterday. Like if I built it today, I can't go to yesterday, but tomorrow I can come back to today.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
cool.
some people think this goes back to the TikTok craft UFO. Some people think that might actually be a time machine, and that's future us coming back.
Testing shit out.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So
I like that theory. I'm going to look further into that.
yeah, so
Because
that's trippy.
that would make sense. I think too, I don't know, again, I'm not a science guy. I don't understand so much how time travel would work. I know speed is involved, right? You
Yeah.
have to go faster than the speed of light.
Yeah, I would think so.
Right.
Yeah.
I think so I mean, when you look at the tic tac and how fast that can move, disappear, maybe that'd be so freaking cool.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right,
The,
what else?
the
So I
next
say
one,
it's mostly true. You say it's mostly true.
yes. So we
All right, very good.
two for three. We agree on
That's right.
moon landing is
Yep, yep. I know how you voted.
that's great. All right, the next one is simulation theory.
uh, but what do you mean by simulation theory? Are you
So
meaning
that we
that
are
we're living
living,
in a simulation?
yeah, like none of this is real. We're all in a simulation. Like me and you are
Yeah.
just characters.
I do think it's mostly true. Where I struggle with it is why do I have a bad day or a good day? Why, you know what I mean? That's
Right.
when I go, well, if it's a simulation, why isn't just my entire existence, everything I absolutely wanted? Why is it I've got to work this hard to, feed my family? I'm not trying to make it a depressing podcast, but I'm just saying, if that I do ponder this from time to time, and I'm a meditation guy. I go deep into as deep as I can go with meditation and all of that stuff. So I do believe that we are in a simulation, and there are days I just say, my matrix is so fucked up right now,
Same
and I got to
here.
get yeah. So let's readjust it. But then if you if you believe in it and you're having those tough days, I think what happens is us humans are built in a way that we're blocking or forgetting that it is a simulation. So it's hard to believe it sometimes.
Right,
And
right.
I think there's a point that we maybe we're not using enough of our minds, or I think that's the reason we don't use all of our minds. I think there may have been something way, 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 way back in the day that was just like we can't. There's a reason why we aren't fully understanding the matrix or the simulation, or fully understanding or have the power of it,
Right.
so much. I don't know. I believe it's mostly true. I wish it worked better.
Me too. I want a better avatar. I want
Yeah,
make me a little bigger, a little stronger,
yeah,
little,
exactly.
But I believe in it mostly true as well. And you know why? Because they I've went down the rabbit hole of this and watched a lot of stuff about simulation theory. And one thing that struck me was they talked to a priest, Catholic priest, and he's like, "Yeah, we've been kind of saying simulation theory since the beginning because what do you think your soul is?" And that you
Hmm.
guys are just an avatar and the soul is the simulation. So like
Where does he say your soul goes when you die?
I didn't I gotta that's a good one. I gotta figure that out
Yeah,
because like yeah what some say you go to another level or another dimension or
you never
whatever.
die.
Yeah,
Right.
that you never die. You just continue on into
Hmm.
a different realm or different, level. If it is a simulation, maybe it's another, bloop, like a
Yeah.
video game or some shit.
Yeah, and we can get real deep with this because, and I will for a moment. But do you ever have those days where you can literally feel your soul within you? Where you're going, what? Why am I in here? Why am I feeling all of this? Why is this happening? Why am I talking? Not why am I talking to you, but how
Right,
is it
right,
that I'm here and I can, I'm in here, but I'm not in you, and I'm not, over here, I'm not there. That to me is, how is that? That's where yeah, I go, because of that feeling, I believe even more that this is simulation, you
right,
know?
right,
And then you start going, your mind starts going all over the, all right, what's going to happen when I die? Oh my God, I'm
right.
59. Oh my God, oh my God,
You start
where's
like,
this going to
yeah,
go? But yeah, so that to me, uh, yeah, totally believe in the simulation theory.
me too.
I want to learn more about it for
And
sure.
and for me, I'm like, if it is a simulation, like how I put it to perspective for myself, I'm like, if all right, so if this is a simulation, this is still my reality as I know it. Like, and I do
Yeah,
have to figure out more. And I think, like you said too, there is something to our brain. Maybe we're not fully
not
using
using it
it
enough. Yeah,
right to be able to be like
yeah,
like Keanu Reeves and just stop the bullets and
That'd be badass. But
yeah,
that's based on that in a sense. I mean,
yeah,
that's that movie's based on that whole theory.
yeah,
You know,
it's
that's
crazy.
crazy. Yeah, real crazy. It really is. Uh, yeah,
I I got
I don't
two
know.
more here.
Yeah, bring it.
So the next one is Bigfoot.
That's not alien. Uh, okay, all right. Like the moon landing to me, you could say is not alien, but it is in a sense. It is. I think it leans towards the alien stuff.
Right, yeah.
Simulation theory, yes, definitely. Time travel, yes.
Pro-
Bigfoot, what the fuck, Don? Okay, so Bigfoot. No, I do not think Bigfoot exists. That is not a mostly true alien story or Bigfoot story at all. I don't think it exists. I think it's folklore, and I think um, I forget where it originated. Did it originate in upstate New York, or was it another?
where that famous picture is taken where he's walking.
Yeah, is
Yeah,
that is that upstate New
I
York?
think that's upstate New York. Yeah, I believe it.
I mean, there's some big burly dudes that live out in those woods back in the day when that thing was taken, and you know, I just think that it just lived on. It's like the Loch Ness monster. Was that going to be your next question?
No, no, Loch Ness is not on there. I
Yeah,
just wanted to keep the one mythical
yeah,
creature,
yeah, yeah.
which is yeah, Bigfoot, and
What about you?
I'm also mostly not true because yeah, I saw my neighbor with his mowing the lawn with his shirt off the other day, and and I was like, "There's Bigfoot."
I spotted him.
Yeah,
You know what though? In today's society, if we captured Bigfoot, everybody would be like, whatever.
yeah. Well, they would probably be really mad that we took him out of his natural
Yeah,
habitat, and when
right,
he's
right.
now,
Oh my God,
they would fight for Bigfoot's,
we'd be canceled so quick.
yeah, exactly. Let Bigfoot go.
Damn it!
He
And
was
he's
hiding for
gay.
years.
It turns out Bigfoot's gay.
Yeah, Bigfoot's uh, so the last one here, I think this should go with the alien world type of stuff, but this
Okay.
is flat Earth.
Hmm. It amazes me with all the images that we can get from space now that we still have flat earthers. Now, if you're a flat earther, I'm not insulting you. It's just one of those things. I haven't seen an aerial photo of our planet that looks flat. Now, I guess they can explain that away, right? They explain it that it's the way we optically view that image. Um, but I, I I don't know. It's odd to me. It's like people that can't see color. I don't fully understand that,
Right, right.
or people that don't can't smell things, that kind of stuff. It's not judging you. It's just I don't see it that way. So I think the Earth, flat Earth, is not a mostly true alien story. I don't even know where that originated from. Like, what is the history on that? Where did that even
I'm
come
not
about?
sure. It started to get popular again, like through the COVID times is when I started hearing about it, and I
Yeah.
was like, people honestly believe and trying to convince others that the Earth is really flat and that we live in a dome and that
Mm.
space is fake, and that those pictures of Earth are all fake, and that none of this is real.
But here's where,
They're yeah,
and I go back to this again about what the aliens, what do they have to gain by taking the dude out of the Kentucky woods, that or Jan from Poland? What is it that we're proving here? What is it that you think is you're spending all this time arguing whether the earth is round or flat? We got more important stuff we could talk about.
yeah, right,
You know what I mean? I don't understand what are we gaining from that. So let's just say that all the scientists in the universe, they say, you know what? We're wrong. It's flat.
right.
Now what happens?
Yeah,
What happens?
yeah,
Nothing.
exactly. Nothing
Nothing
happens.
changes.
We're still the same.
Yeah. I mean, the Earth, they say, rotates on an axis. It's round.
Yeah.
It's
We,
rotating on an.
that's what our days are. And our years is all rotating and
Yeah.
yeah, and gravity and all that stuff. And I saw this. He was very combative. I forget who it was. It was like a spokesperson for Flat Earth. He was like, This is
Hmm.
again years ago. I watched this stuff during COVID times, and but he was really adamant and arrogant and dismissive. If you
Mm-hmm.
told him that the Earth is round, he would just go at you about it. Like, um,
Yeah,
but
the flat earthers get very defensive.
yeah,
They
yeah,
for and I'm not just saying that to be funny. The majority of flat earthers get very defensive. Whereas if you if you're going to challenge me that the Earth is round, I'll just be like, yeah, you're just nuts, dude. We're done. I don't need to get combative. It's
right,
wrong.
exactly, yeah.
Right.
If you knew for a fact that it was flat, you're just like, hey man, I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
That's it. You can
Yeah.
believe it or not,
That's
just
it.
get on
Yeah.
with your
Let's
day.
move on. Yeah.
And to your point too, what's the like
What are you gaining?
what are you gaining out of it? Why, go that route? It's
Right.
just yeah. But
I don't know. I don't understand it either. It's like there's people out there that don't believe dinosaurs ever existed.
yeah, people think that those were that's whoever first discovered the I think it was in the 50s, they started to find the dinosaur
The
skeletons,
fossils and
the
skeletons and all that stuff. Yeah.
and they said it was all made or which
What? Why?
yeah, exactly. Why would
What do
you
we have to gain?
a hoax that like to that level?
Yeah.
What's in it? Like at
I
least you
don't
could
get.
say if the moon landing is a hoax, there was something to gain for it, and that was the
Right.
country
Right.
and
Right.
the
Exactly.
space race
Yes.
and all.
There you go. Exactly. Yes.
But there's no
Yep.
motive behind
Yeah. Yeah.
faking
Mhm.
dinosaur life.
But Don, I gotta tell you, we went to the moon, buddy, and it's flat.
That's awesome. Neil, this has been great, man.
Dude, this is the best time I had. I really appreciate you bringing me on your podcast. This has been a real treat for me.
Yeah, dude, this has been a treat for me as well. And I'm hoping that you have more dreams about me, and I'll have some dreams about you, and this would be awesome.
I'm definitely gonna have more dreams about you now, and I would love to have you on my show at some point.
Dude, anytime, let me know, man, and I'll study up on all my stuff and
Better be ready, because
I'll look,
I'd love to see how you weigh in on our mostly true stories, our feature story. That'd
yeah,
be fun.
that'll be awesome.
Yeah. And now
But
we don't usually tell our guests what the story is, so you're just hearing it for the very first time.
dude, I love it. Let's do
All
it.
right. All right, that'd be great.
So, tell everybody where they can find you and follow you and watch the show. I'm gonna have it in description, but we'll put it down there on the.
Yeah, so we are streaming on all your preferred streaming channels now. It's mostly True Alien Stories. YouTube seems to be the most popular. We're there. We're on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, also all of the streaming channels. We also have a TikTok channel. I'd love it if you guys, your listeners, have a TikTok channel. Jump on there, because on there we do some added content where we talk specifically about certain topics that we don't talk about on the show. So that's at Mostly True Alien Stories on TikTok.
Awesome. Well, Neil,
All right,
thanks so much. You're the
my
best.
pleasure.
Everybody, check out the show. Mostly True Alien Stories. It rocks. This guy is the best. Neil,
Good seeing you, Don. I appreciate it, man.
thank you, buddy. You're the best.
All right,
Take care.
brother. Talk to you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.